How did one careless sentence about a cheap car end up costing an entire family their future? What happens when a calm father decides not to argue, not to explain, and instead lets the system answer for him? This is how one birthday gift quietly became the turning point. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. The kitchen smelled like coffee and cardboard. I'd picked up the cake on my way home from the dispatch office. Nothing fancy, just chocolate with white frosting. Evan was turning 22. I remembered 22. I was hauling freight across state lines by then, learning how the world worked one rest stop at a time. He sat at the table with Mara beside him. She had her phone out, scrolling with one thumb while picking at her nails with the other. Evan looked tired. Finals week had just ended. He'd called me 3 times that month asking about rent money, and I'd sent it without asking questions. That's what fathers do. "Happy birthday," I said, setting the cake down. The candles were already in it, 22 little flames waiting to be lit. "Thanks, Dad." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He glanced at Mara. She didn't look up. I pulled the small box from my jacket pocket. The keys inside rattled slightly. I'd wrapped it myself, which meant the paper was crooked and the tape showed. I'm better with logistics software than gift wrap. "This one's from me." Evan took the box. Mara finally looked up. Her expression shifted into something curious, maybe even interested. She leaned closer as he tore the paper away. The key fob dropped into his palm. Toyota emblem. 4 buttons. Nothing fancy, but it worked. "Wait," Evan said. His eyes went wide. "Dad, is this—" "It's parked downstairs. Spot 17, 2018 Corolla. Runs clean, passes inspection, insurance is handled for 6 months." For a moment, he just stared at the keys. Then he stood up fast, the chair scraping loud against the floor. "Are you serious? Go look." He was out the door before I finished the sentence. Mara stayed seated, turning the key fob over in her hand like she was appraising jewelry. "Corolla," she said. "Flat. No question mark, just the word. Reliable car, good mileage." She smiled, but it wasn't warm. "It's very practical. Perfect for someone your age, I guess." I didn't answer right away. I watched her set the keys down on the table, right next to the cake I'd bought. She went back to her phone. "Glad it works for him," I said. She shrugged. "It's a start." Evan came back 5 minutes later, breathless. "Dad, this is incredible. I can't believe you did this. You needed a car. Now you have one." He hugged me. Quick, tight. When he pulled back, I saw Mara watching us with that same thin smile. "We should take a picture," she said, standing. "You, Evan, and the car." We went downstairs together. The Corolla sat under the streetlight, silver paint reflecting halogen glow. It wasn't new, but it was clean. I'd spent 2 hours detailing it myself the day before. Mara held up her phone. "Smile." I stood next to Evan. He had his arm around my shoulder. The camera clicked. "Cute," Mara said, glancing at the screen. "Very sentimental." Evan was too excited to notice her tone. He walked around the car, checking the tires, peering through the windows. I watched Mara lean against the lamppost, texting someone. "It's perfect, Dad," Evan said. "Really, thank you." "Take care of it." "I will." Mara pushed off the lamppost. "We should head back up. It's cold." Evan nodded. They went inside together. I stayed in the parking lot a little longer, hands in my pockets, staring at the car. My phone buzzed. A calendar notification I didn't remember setting. It said, "Review vehicle registration." I deleted it and walked back inside. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I kept replaying Mara's voice in my head. "Perfect for someone your age." Not Evan's age, mine. I got up around 2 in the morning and went to the kitchen. The cake was still on the counter, half eaten. The key fob was gone. I opened the drawer where I kept my paperwork and found the folder I'd labeled Vehicle. Inside were the registration documents, insurance papers, and the bill of sale. My name, not Evan's. I closed the folder and put it back. The next morning, I made coffee and left early for work. The logistics office sat on the edge of an industrial park, surrounded by warehouses and truck yards. I'd been driving those roads for 20 years before I moved into dispatch. People think the job is easier when you're not behind the wheel. They're wrong. It's just a different kind of tired. I parked in my usual spot and walked inside. The office was already loud. Phones ringing, radios crackling, drivers arguing about routes. I slid into my desk and logged into the system. My manager, a man named Keith, walked past without looking at me. That was normal. I'd been working there for 8 years. Keith had been there for 3. He liked to talk about efficiency metrics and cost savings. I liked to make sure drivers didn't get stranded in Nebraska with a blown tire. Torvin, you got the Midwest schedule sorted? Keith called from his office. Sent it yesterday. Good. That was it. No follow-up. No thanks. I opened the routing software and started planning the next week's loads. Around 10, one of the younger guys, Danny, came over and dropped a file on my desk. Hey, Callum, can you check this manifest? Something's off with the weight distribution. I scanned the paperwork. He'd loaded the trailer backwards. Heavy freight in the rear, light stuff up front. Dangerous. I circled the issue in red pen and handed it back. Flip it. Otherwise you're asking for a jackknife on the interstate. Danny frowned. You sure? 23 years hauling freight. Yeah, I'm sure. He took the file and walked away. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just another correction they'd use without remembering who gave it. I thought about Evan. How many times had I covered his tuition payments, his rent, his groceries when the semester got tight? I didn't keep a ledger, but the numbers were there. In my bank account. In the spreadsheets I updated every month. By lunch, I was thinking about Mara again. Perfect for someone your age. I bought a sandwich from the vending machine and ate it in my truck. It was an old Ford Ranger I'd bought 15 years ago. Dented bumper, rust on the wheel wells, but the engine ran clean. I'd replaced the transmission myself. I knew every bolt in that truck. Evan's Corolla was nicer, newer, cleaner, but I'd registered it in my name because the insurance was cheaper that way, and because Evan didn't have the credit score to handle a policy on his own. I hadn't told him that part. Didn't seem necessary. After work, I stopped at a rest stop on the way home. It was one of those places truckers used when they needed to sleep between hauls. I used to park here twice a week. There was a cafe inside run by a woman named Dottie who remembered everyone's order. Callum, she said when I walked in. Been a while? Couple months. Coffee? Black. She poured it and slid the cup across the counter. You look tired. Always tired, she laughed. You still with the logistics company? Yeah. Good for you. Easier than the road. Different. She nodded and went back to wiping down the counter. I took my coffee to a booth and sat facing the highway. Trucks rolled past, headlights cutting through the dusk. I used to be one of them. Now I was the guy who told them where to go. I thought about Evan growing up. The baseball games I missed because I was hauling furniture to Oregon, the parent-teacher conferences I called into from a truck stop in Iowa, the birthdays I celebrated a week late because the load couldn't wait. I did it all so he wouldn't have to, and now his wife thought I gave him a cheap car. I finished my coffee and drove home. When I got there, Evan's Corolla was gone, probably out with Mara. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, and went straight to the garage. I kept my files in a metal cabinet. Insurance papers, tax returns, vehicle registrations, contracts, everything labeled, everything organized. I pulled the folder marked vehicle and opened it on the workbench. Registration, Callum Torvin. Primary insured, Callum Torvin. Lien holder, none. Paid in full. I closed the folder and put it back. A week later, they invited me to dinner. It was Evan's idea, I think. He called me on a Tuesday afternoon and said they wanted to take me out. Someplace downtown, nicer than the usual spots. I agreed because I hadn't seen him much since the birthday. The restaurant had cloth napkins and waiters in vests. Mara picked the place. She was already seated when I arrived, scrolling through her phone. Evan stood when he saw me. Hey, Dad. Hey. We sat down. The menus were heavy, bound in fake leather. I ordered water. Evan ordered a beer. Mara ordered wine and an appetizer I couldn't pronounce. So, Mara said, setting her phone down, we wanted to thank you for the car. You're welcome. It's been really helpful, Evan added. I've been driving to campus every day. Saves me an hour on the bus. Good, Mara smiled. We were actually talking about maybe upgrading it, trading it in, getting something a little more modern. I looked at her. Modern? Yeah, the Corolla's fine, but it's like 6 years old. We saw some newer models at the dealership last weekend. Better safety features, better resale value. Evan shifted in his seat. We're just thinking about it, Dad. No decisions yet. Who's we? Mara laughed. Us. Evan and me. It's his car, right? I didn't answer. The waiter came by and took our orders. Mara got the steak. Evan got pasta. I got the chicken. You'd be amazed how much they're offering for trade-ins right now, Mara continued. We could probably get like $12,000 for the Corolla. Put that towards something better. Something better, I repeated. Yeah, like a Camry. Or maybe a RAV4. Those are really popular. Evan nodded. We're not saying the Corolla's bad. It's great. We just want to explore options. I cut into my chicken. It was dry. Options. Mara leaned forward. You get it, right? I mean, you gave him a starter car. That's what it is. Everyone gets a starter car. But at some point, you upgrade. I chewed slowly. Swallowed. Took a sip of water. Starter car, I said. Exactly. Evan looked uncomfortable. Dad, we're not trying to be ungrateful. We're just planning ahead. Planning. Yeah. I set my fork down. How's the insurance? Evan blinked. What? The insurance on the car. How's it working out? Oh, it's fine. You said it was covered for 6 months, right? Right. So we're good until then. After that, we'll figure it out. Mara waved her hand. If we trade it in, the dealership handles all that. They handle the registration too? She shrugged. I assumed so. I picked up my fork again. Good to know. The rest of dinner passed in small talk. Mara talked about her classes. Evan talked about a group project. I nodded and ate and didn't say much. When the check came, I paid. Evan protested, but I waved him off. My treat. Outside, Mara kissed Evan on the cheek and headed to the car. Evan lingered. Thanks for dinner, Dad. Sure. And you know, we're not trying to be difficult. About the car. We just want something that'll last. The Corolla will last. I know, but you should check the registration. He frowned. What? Before you trade it in, check the registration. Okay, why? Just a suggestion. He looked confused, but he nodded. All right, I will. I watched them drive away. Then I walked to my truck, got in, and sat there for a while. The engine ticked as it cooled. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Gregory Holt, legal advisor. We'd worked together years ago when I'd set up a small investment trust. He'd helped me navigate some contract issues with a freight company that tried to stiff me on payment. I tapped his name. The phone rang twice before he picked up. Callum? That you? Yeah. It's been a while. What's going on? I need to ask you something. Shoot. If a vehicle is registered in my name, but someone else is using it, who owns it? There was a pause. Legally? You do. Registration determines ownership, not possession. What if they try to sell it? They can't, not without your signature. If they go to a dealership, the dealership will check the registration and see your name. They won't complete the sale without your consent. What if I don't give consent? Then the car stays yours. I exhaled. Thanks. You in some kind of trouble, Callum? No. All right, but if you need anything else, let me know. I will. I hung up. The parking lot was almost empty now. A streetlight flickered overhead. I started the truck and drove home. In the garage, I pulled out the folder again. I stared at the registration for a long time. Then I labeled a new folder. Documentation. I placed the vehicle registration inside, along with the insurance paperwork, the bill of sale, and a copy of the title. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I didn't need to. The next few weeks passed quietly. I went to work. I came home. I organized paperwork in the garage. Evan called occasionally, asking about small things, money for groceries, advice on a class. He didn't mention the car. Mara did. She called me one afternoon while I was at the dispatch office. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hey, Callum. She never called me Dad, always Callum. What's up? So, Evan and I went to the dealership yesterday, just to look around, you know? Okay. And they have this amazing deal on a 2022 Camry. Certified pre-owned, low mileage, way better than the Corolla. We could trade in the Corolla and only pay like $3,000 out of pocket. That's nice. Yeah, so we're thinking about going for it. But the dealer said they need the title and registration to process the trade-in. Evan said you have those? I leaned back in my chair. I do. Great. Can you bring them by this weekend? We want to move fast before someone else grabs the Camry. I'll think about it. Think about it? Her tone shifted. What's there to think about? It's just paperwork. I'm busy this weekend. Callum, come on, this is important. Evan really wants this car. I'm sure he does. There was a pause. Are you seriously going to make this difficult? I'm not making anything difficult. I'm just busy. She sighed, loud and exaggerated. Fine. Whatever. I'll tell Evan you're being weird about it. She hung up. I set the phone down and stared at the routing software on my screen. Keith walked past carrying a clipboard. He didn't look at me. He never did unless he needed something. I thought about the hours I'd spent teaching Evan how to drive, the afternoons we'd spent in empty parking lots, practicing parallel parking and three-point turns, the time he'd backed into a mailbox and panicked, and I'd told him it was fine. Everyone makes mistakes. I'd been patient. I'd been encouraging. I'd been there. I'd taught him to drive. But I hadn't taught him to respect what he was given. That evening, after the office emptied out, I stayed late. The building was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of trucks pulling in and out of the loading docks. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a small notebook I kept for personal notes. I flipped through the pages until I found what I was looking for, a list of expenses, every payment I'd made for Evan over the past 4 years, tuition deposits, rent payments, grocery money, emergency car repairs before he had the Corolla, medical bills, books, a laptop, winter tires. The numbers added up quickly. I'd never shown him this list, never mentioned it. I just kept track because that's what I did. I tracked things. The total sat at the bottom of the page, circled in red ink. It wasn't a small number. I closed the notebook and put it back in the drawer. That night, I called Gregory again. Callum, twice in 1 month. What's going on? I want to confirm something. If I don't give permission for the car to be sold, they can't do it. Correct. What if they forge my signature? That's fraud. They could face legal consequences, and the sale wouldn't be valid. The dealership would catch it too. They verify ownership through DMV records before processing any trade-in. If the name on the title doesn't match the person signing, the deal falls through. Good. Callum, what's happening here? Nothing, just planning ahead. You sure? Yeah. All right. But seriously, if you need help, call me. I've known you a long time. You're not the type to ask questions like this unless something's wrong. I appreciate it, Gregory. You'd tell me if you needed help, right? I would. Okay, take care of yourself. I will. I hung up and went to the garage. I pulled out the folder and added a new document, a notarized statement confirming my ownership of the vehicle. Gregory had mentioned it once, years ago, during a different conversation. It wouldn't hurt to have it ready. I'd stopped by the bank during lunch and had the notary witness my signature. The seal was still fresh, the ink dark blue against the white paper, just in case. At work the next day, things continued as usual. Keith ignored me until he needed something. Danny asked for help with another manifest. I corrected it. The kid had loaded a shipment of construction equipment with all the heavy machinery in the rear again. I circled the problem areas and handed it back. You're going to get someone hurt if you keep loading like this, I said. Danny frowned. I thought spreading the weight out was safer. Not when you put all 10 tons in the back third of the trailer. Physics doesn't care what you thought. It cares about center of gravity. He took the manifest and walked away. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just another correction they'd use without remembering who gave it. But I noticed something. Keith's office had a window overlooking the dispatch floor, and sometimes, when I looked up, I'd catch him watching me. Not angry, not suspicious, just watching, like he was trying to figure something out. One afternoon, he called me into his office. Torvin, sit. I sat. He leaned back in his chair, hands behind his head. You've been here 8 years? Yeah. You ever think about moving up? Supervisor position? Not really. Why not? I shrugged. I like what I do. You're good at it. Better than most of the guys we've hired in the last 5 years. Better than some of the guys who've been here longer than you. Thanks. But you don't push. You don't advocate for yourself. You just sit there, do the work, go home. I watch you correct other people's mistakes. I watch you solve problems before they become disasters, and you never ask for anything in return. I didn't respond. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk. Look, I'm not trying to lecture you. I'm just saying you've got skills. You could be making more money, taking on more responsibility. You could run this entire operation if you wanted to. I'm fine where I am. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're letting people walk all over you. I met his eyes. I'm fine. He held my gaze for a moment, then sighed. All right, just think about it. I left his office and went back to my desk. I didn't think about it. I thought about Mara calling the Corolla a starter car. I thought about Evan avoiding eye contact when she said it. I thought about the way they talked about upgrades like the car was disposable, like the gift was temporary, like the effort behind it meant nothing, like I was disposable. That evening I stopped at the bank on my way home. I sat down with the same notary who'd witnessed my signature on the ownership document. Her name was Linda. She'd worked there for 15 years. Back again? She asked. Need copies of some documents. Which ones? I handed her the folder. All of them. She raised an eyebrow. All of them? Yeah, 2 copies each. Notarized. That's going to take a bit. I've got time. She started making copies. The machine hummed and clicked. I sat in the waiting area and watched people come and go. A young couple opening their first joint account. An older man closing out an estate. A woman depositing a check with her kids running circles around her legs. Normal life. Normal problems. Linda finished 20 minutes later. She stamped each copy with the notary seal and signed them. You're all set. Thanks. Can I ask what this is for? Just keeping records. She handed me the folder, now twice as thick. Well, you're certainly thorough. I try to be. I drove home. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. The Corolla was parked in spot 17 when I pulled in. The silver paint looked almost golden in the fading light. In the garage, I created 2 new folders. One labeled Primary Documentation, one labeled Backup Records. I split the copies between them. Everything organized, everything clear, everything ready. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I didn't need to. The invitation came 2 weeks later. It was formal. Printed cardstock with gold lettering. You are cordially invited to join us for a special event at Premier Auto Sales. Date, time, location. Evan's name at the bottom, printed in script font that tried too hard to look elegant. I held it up to the light. Quality paper. Embossed edges. Someone had spent money on this. I called Evan. Dad, hey, did you get the invite? Yeah, what's this about? It's a dealership event. They're doing this thing where they appraise trade-ins and offer special financing. Mara thought it'd be a good opportunity to finalize the upgrade. Finalize? Yeah. We've been looking at cars for a while now, and we finally found the one we want. A 2021 Camry. It's perfect. Silver, leather interior, all the safety features. It's exactly what we need. And you need me there? Well, yeah. The dealer said we need the title and registration to complete the trade-in. So we figured we'd all go together. Make it like a family thing. A family thing? Yeah. Plus, it'd be nice to have you there. You know, since you gave me the car in the first place. It'd be like, I don't know, closing the loop or something. I didn't answer right away. I stared at the invitation. The gold lettering caught the light from my desk lamp. Dad, you there? I'm here. So you'll come? I'll be there. Great. Thanks, Dad. This means a lot. Really. Mara's been really excited about this. She's been researching the Camry for weeks, reading reviews, watching videos, the whole thing. She really thinks it's the right move for us. I'm sure she does. And honestly, the Corolla's been great. Don't get me wrong. It's just, we're thinking long term now. Mara wants something that'll last through grad school and beyond. Something with better resale value. There it was again. Resale value. I'll see you there, I said. Awesome. Saturday, 2 o'clock. Don't forget. I won't. I hung up. I stared at the invitation for a long time. Then I went to the garage. The folders were thicker now. I'd added insurance correspondence, payment receipts, and a detailed log of every expense related to the vehicle. I'd also printed out a summary of the vehicle's current market value, the remaining warranty, and the insurance policy terms. I'd included maintenance records, every oil change, every tire rotation, every inspection, documentation of the detailing I'd done before giving Evan the keys, photos of the car from the day I'd bought it. Everything was organized, everything was clear, everything told a story. I pulled out a smaller envelope and placed the title inside. Not a copy. The original. I sealed it and wrote Evan's name on the front in careful block letters. Then I placed it back in the folder. I spent the rest of the week preparing. Not in any dramatic way, just making sure everything was in order. I confirmed the documents were complete. I reviewed the registration one more time. I called the insurance company and verified the policy details. They confirmed what I already knew. Primary insured, Callum Torvin. Policyholder, Callum Torvin. Vehicle owner, Callum Torvin. Is there anything you'd like to change on the policy? The representative asked. No, I said. Everything's exactly how it should be. The day of the dealership event, I woke up early. The sun hadn't risen yet. I made coffee and stood at the kitchen window, watching the darkness fade to gray. The parking lot below was empty except for a few cars. The Corolla sat in spot 17, right where I'd parked it after taking it back from Evan that first time. I shaved, I put on a clean shirt and my good jeans, the ones without stains or worn knees. I polished my shoes. I wanted to look presentable, professional. I made a second cup of coffee and drank it slowly, staring out the window at the parking lot below. The Corolla's silver paint gleamed as the morning light grew stronger. I thought about Evan as a kid, the way he used to wait by the door when I came home from long hauls, the way he'd help me unload the truck, even though he was too small to carry anything heavy, the way he'd fallen asleep on my lap during a movie once, and I'd carried him to bed. I thought about the man he'd become, the one who let his wife mock the car I'd given him, the one who talked about resale value without ever asking if I was okay with selling. I finished my coffee, grabbed the folder, and headed out. The dealership was on the edge of town, right off the interstate. Big glass windows, shiny cars lined up in neat rows, balloons tied to the door handles. Red and white balloons bobbing in the morning breeze. A banner stretched across the entrance. Special trade-in event. This weekend only. I parked my truck in the back, away from the main lot. I sat there for a minute, engine ticking as it cooled. I looked at the folder on the passenger seat. Everything was inside. Every document, every receipt, every piece of evidence. I picked it up and walked inside. The showroom was bright. Too bright. Fluorescent lights reflected off polished hoods and waxed floors. The air smelled like new car leather and air freshener. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Evan and Mara were already there, standing near the showroom entrance. Mara was dressed up, heels and a blazer that looked expensive. Evan wore khakis and a button-down shirt. They looked like they were attending a business meeting or a wedding. "Dad!" Evan waved me over. "You made it." "Yeah." Mara smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Great. Let's get this started. We've been waiting." A salesman approached. Young guy, maybe 30, slicked back hair and a smile that showed too many teeth. White teeth, unnaturally white. He wore a navy suit with a name tag that said, "Jason, Sales Consultant." "You must be the Torvin family. I'm Jason. I'll be assisting you today." We shook hands. His grip was firm, practiced, the kind of handshake they teach in sales training seminars. He led us through the showroom, past rows of shining vehicles, toward a conference room in the back. Glass walls, leather chairs, a long table with bottled water and mints arranged in neat rows. The 2021 Camry was parked just outside the window, polished and gleaming under the showroom lights. Silver, just like the Corolla. "Beautiful car," Jason said, gesturing toward it like a game show host revealing a prize. "One of our best. Low mileage, certified pre-owned, full warranty. Bluetooth, backup camera, lane assist, the works. You're making a great choice." Mara beamed. "We love it. It's exactly what we want." Jason sat down and opened a folder. Papers rustled. He clicked a pen and looked up at us with that practiced smile. "All right, so let's talk trade-in. You're bringing in a 2018 Corolla, correct?" "Correct," Evan said. "Great. I've already pulled up the valuation. Based on mileage and condition, we're looking at about $11,500. Sound good?" Mara nodded eagerly. "Perfect." Jason turned to me. "And you're the registered owner, Mr. Torvin?" I nodded. "Excellent. I'll just need to see the title and registration to complete the paperwork." I opened the folder. Slowly, deliberately. I felt their eyes on me. I pulled out the title and set it on the table. Jason picked it up, glanced at it, and smiled. "Great. And the registration?" I pulled that out too, set it down next to the title. The documents lay there on the polished conference table, official and final. Jason scanned both documents. His smile faltered. His eyes moved from the paper to me, then to Evan, then back to the paper. "Wait, the registration is under Callum Torvin." "That's me," I said. "Right, but..." He looked at Evan, confusion spreading across his face. "I thought this was your car." Evan shifted in his seat. "It is. My dad gave it to me for my birthday." "Okay, but legally it's still his car." Mara's smile was gone now. "What does that mean?" Jason set the documents down carefully, like they might explode. "It means I can't process the trade-in without Mr. Torvin's signature. He's the legal owner." "Right," Mara said slowly. Her voice had an edge to it now. "So he signs. Problem solved." Jason looked at me. "Mr. Torvin, are you authorizing this trade-in?" I looked at Evan. He was staring at me, confused, his eyebrows drawn together, his mouth slightly open. Then I looked at Mara. Her expression was hard, expectant, her arms crossed, her foot tapping against the floor. I folded my hands on the table. "No," I said. The room went silent. Even the soft showroom music seemed to fade away. "What?" Mara's voice was sharp, loud. "What did you just say?" I said no. I'm not authorizing it. Evan blinked. "Dad, what are you talking about?" The car is mine. I bought it. I registered it. I insured it. I maintain it, and I'm not selling it. Mara stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. Are you kidding me right now? No. You gave him that car. You can't just take it back. I didn't give it to him. I let him use it. That's not... She stopped, her face flushing red, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. You're being ridiculous. This is completely insane. I'm being clear about ownership. Clear? You wait until we're at the dealership in front of everyone and then you pull this? You couldn't have said something earlier? I did say something. I told Evan to check the registration. Evan's face had gone pale. Dad, I don't understand. You said it was for my birthday. It was. The use of it was for your birthday. The car itself remained mine. Mara laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Oh, that's rich. So what? You just let him think he owned it? You let us make plans, get excited, come all the way down here, and now you're just going to humiliate us? I pulled out another document from the folder, the insurance policy. I slid it across the polished table to Evan. It made a soft whisper against the wood. Read the name on the primary insured line. He picked it up with shaking hands. His eyes scanned the page. It's your name. Right, because I'm paying for it. I've been paying for everything. The insurance, the maintenance, the registration fees, the inspection, everything. Jason cleared his throat awkwardly. Folks, maybe we should take a minute. No, Mara snapped. She turned on him. This is your fault, too. You should have checked this before bringing us in here. You wasted our time. Ma'am, I can only process what... I don't want to hear excuses. She turned back to me. Her eyes were blazing now. This is insane. You're punishing us because we wanted something better, because we wanted to upgrade. That's what people do, Callum. They upgrade. They move forward. They don't stay stuck with old cheap cars forever. Cheap, I repeated. Yes, cheap. That's what it is. A cheap old car that you probably got for a bargain somewhere and thought would be good enough. I pulled out another document, the purchase receipt. I paid $16,000 for that car, cash, no loan, no financing. Her mouth snapped shut. I spent 8 hours detailing it before I gave him the keys. I replaced the brake pads, new tires, full service, another $900 in maintenance to make sure it was safe. Evan stared at the receipt. Dad, I didn't know. You didn't ask. I pulled out the maintenance log. Every oil change, every inspection, every repair, all documented, all paid for by me. You drove it for 6 months and never once asked about any of this. Mara found her voice again. So what? You want us to thank you for doing basic maintenance? You want a medal for being a father? I want you to understand what you're talking about when you call something cheap. It is cheap. Compared to what we could have? Compared to what? I leaned forward. Compared to a car you can't afford? Compared to payments you can't make? I've been covering Evan's rent for 2 years, his groceries, his tuition deposits. Do you know how much that adds up to? Evan's face went even paler. Dad, please. I pulled out the notebook, the one I'd kept in my desk. I opened it to the page with the circled total and slid it across the table. $42,000. That's what I've paid in the last 4 years. For rent, food, emergencies, books, medical bills, and everything else you needed. The number sat there on the table between us. Mara stared at it. That's your choice. Nobody asked you to. You're right. Nobody asked. You just took. That's not fair, Evan said. His voice cracked. I didn't know you were keeping track. I thought you were just helping me. I was helping you, but helping doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean you get to be disrespectful about what you receive. Mara slammed her hand on the table. The water bottles rattled. This is unbelievable. You're really going to do this? Embarrass us in front of a stranger over a stupid car? I'm not embarrassing you. You did that yourself when you called it cheap, when you talked about starter cars and upgrades, when you made plans to sell something that wasn't yours without even checking who owned it. Because we thought... You thought wrong. Her jaw clenched. She grabbed her purse from the back of her chair. Fine. You know what? Keep your precious car. We don't need it. We don't need you. Come on, Evan. Evan didn't move. He sat there staring at the documents spread across the table. The registration, the insurance policy, the purchase receipt, the maintenance log, the notebook with the total circled in red. Evan, Mara said sharply, let's go. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... You called it a starter car, I said quietly. You talked about resale value. You made plans without asking me, and you didn't once say thank you after that first night. I did say thank you. Once. On your birthday. And then you spent the next month figuring out how to get rid of it. He opened his mouth. Closed it. No words came out. Mara's voice was ice. Evan, are you coming or not? He looked at her, then at me, then at the documents on the table. Slowly he stood up. I'm sorry, Dad, he said again. But he followed Mara out of the conference room. I stayed seated. Jason sat across from me, looking deeply uncomfortable. He fidgeted with his pen. Mr. Torvin, I'm sorry about all that. If you want to reconsider, I don't. Okay. Well, is there anything else I can help you with today? No. He nodded and stood up. I'll give you a moment. He left. I sat alone in the conference room, surrounded by leather chairs and bottled water and the gleaming Camry parked just outside the window. I gathered the documents slowly, methodically, and placed them back in the folder. The registration, the insurance policy, the purchase receipt, the maintenance log, the notebook, everything back in its place. I pulled the car keys from my pocket and looked at them. The Toyota emblem caught the light. 4 buttons, nothing fancy. But it worked. I stood up. I walked out of the conference room, through the showroom, past the rows of shining cars and the red and white balloons. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said anything. In the parking lot, Evan and Mara were standing beside a different car. Not the Corolla, some other vehicle. They were arguing. She was gesturing wildly, her voice carrying across the lot. He was looking at the ground, his shoulders hunched. I climbed into the Corolla and started the engine. It purred to life, smooth and reliable. I adjusted the mirrors, checked the gauges. Everything in order, everything as it should be. I pulled out of the parking lot. As I turned onto the interstate, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Evan was still standing there, watching me drive away. I turned my eyes back to the road ahead. That night, my phone rang. It was Evan. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Dad. Yeah. Can we talk? We just did. I mean, really talk. Not at a dealership. Not with Mara there, just us. I sat down on the couch. The apartment was dark except for the light from the kitchen. All right. I didn't know, he said, his voice cracked. I didn't know the car was still in your name. I thought you transferred it to me. I thought that's what you did when you gave someone a car. I told you to check the registration. I know. I should have. I didn't think it mattered. I thought you were just being, I don't know, paranoid or something. I didn't think you'd actually... He trailed off. Actually what? Take it back like that? In front of everyone? I didn't take it back. It was always mine. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. Mara's really upset, he said finally. I figured. She thinks you humiliated her on purpose. She thinks you planned the whole thing to make her look bad. I stated facts. If she feels humiliated by facts, that's not my problem. Dad, come on. You knew we were planning to trade it in. You could have told us it wasn't possible. You could have explained everything before we got to the dealership. I did tell you. I told you to check the registration. That was your chance to figure it out on your own. That's not the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You just didn't want to listen. He sighed. So what now? You just keep the car forever? I'm supposed to go back to taking the bus? It's my car. What I do with it is my decision. Yeah, but I need a car for school, for work. How am I supposed to get around? You've been managing fine so far. Dad, please, don't do this. Do what? Punish me because Mara said something stupid. I leaned forward. The couch creaked under me. This isn't about Mara. This is about you. You stood there and let her call it a starter car. You talked about resale value like the car was an investment property. You made plans to get rid of something I gave you, and you didn't even have the decency to ask me first. I didn't think I needed to ask. That's the problem. You didn't think? You assumed the car was yours. You assumed I'd be fine with you selling it. You assumed I'd just go along with whatever you wanted because that's what I always do. It is. That's exactly what happened. You got comfortable, you got entitled, and you stopped seeing me as a person who deserves respect. Another pause, longer this time. I'm sorry, he said quietly. The words came out barely above a whisper. For what? For not appreciating it, for taking it for granted, for letting Mara talk about it like that, for all of it. Okay. Okay? His voice rose. That's it? Just okay. I'm apologizing here. What do you want me to say? I want you to give me another chance. I want you to believe that I mean it when I say I'm sorry. Do you mean it? Yes. Then prove it. How? I stood up and walked to the window. The Corolla was parked in spot 17 again, right where it started. The silver paint reflected the streetlight. Figure it out. Dad, please, don't be like this. Like what? Cold, distant, like you don't care. I care. That's why we're having this conversation. But caring doesn't mean I have to make things easy for you. What does that even mean? It means you need to learn that respect isn't automatic. It's earned, and you lost mine the moment you let someone mock what I gave you. It was just a comment. She didn't mean anything by it. She meant exactly what she said, and you let her say it. That's the part you keep missing. You stood there and said nothing. He didn't respond. I could hear him breathing, uneven, shaky. Dad, I don't know what you want from me. I want you to grow up. The words hung in the air between us. I am grown up, he said, but his voice wavered. Then act like it. I am. I'm apologizing. I'm trying to make this right. Apologizing is easy. Changing is hard. So what? I'm just supposed to magically become a different person? No. You're supposed to recognize that your actions have consequences, and you're supposed to take responsibility instead of making excuses. Another long silence. I have to go, he said finally. All right. Are we okay? I don't know. Dad, I hung up. I stood at the window for a long time after that. The parking lot was quiet, empty except for the cars that lived there. The Corolla sat in its spot, patient and still. The next day I went to work. The office felt different somehow, lighter, or maybe it was just me who felt different. Keith called me into his office again. Torvin, sit. I sat. He stared at me for a moment. You all right? Fine. You seem different. Do I? He nodded. Yeah, calmer, but also, I don't know, sharper, more focused. I didn't respond. He leaned forward. Look, I don't know what's going on in your personal life, and I'm not asking, but I want you to know something. You're one of the best guys we've got. You don't make noise, you don't complain, you just do the work. And that's valuable, really valuable. Thanks. I mean it. Most guys come in here looking for recognition, looking for praise, looking for someone to tell them they're special. You just come in, do what needs to be done, and go home. That's rare. I don't need recognition. Maybe you should. Maybe if you asked for what you're worth, people would stop taking advantage of you. I looked at him. Nobody's taking advantage of me. Aren't they? He leaned back. I see it, Torvin. I see how people treat you, how they come to you with problems and then take credit for the solutions, how they rely on you without acknowledging it. You're the backbone of this operation, and most people don't even realize it. I'm just doing my job. You're doing everyone's job, and you're not getting paid enough for it. That's not your problem. Actually, it is. Because if I lose you, this whole place falls apart. So here's what's going to happen. Starting next month, you're getting a raise and a new title, Senior Logistics Coordinator. I blinked. Keith, it's not a request. It's done. The paperwork's already filed. You've earned it 10 times over. I don't know what to say. Say thank you and go back to work. Thank you. He waved me off. Get out of here. I went back to my desk. The routing software was open on my screen. A new shipment to Denver. I mapped the route, checked the weight distribution, verified the delivery schedule, and sent it to the driver. Perfect. No corrections needed. That weekend, I drove to the Rest Stop Cafe. Dottie was behind the counter, same as always. Callum, coffee? Black. She poured it and slid it across. You look better. Better than what? Better than last time. You had this look, like you were carrying something heavy, like the weight was crushing you. Maybe I was. You put it down? I took a sip of coffee. It was hot and bitter and exactly what I needed. Working on it. She smiled. Good for you. Life's too short to carry other people's weight. Yeah. You learned that the hard way? Something like that. She nodded and went back to wiping down the counter. I sat in the same booth as before, facing the highway. Trucks rolled past, headlights cutting through the dusk. I watched them and thought about the years I'd spent out there. The long hauls, the empty roads, the nights spent in rest stops just like this one. I'd done it all for Evan, so he could go to college, so he could have a better life, so he wouldn't have to work as hard as I did. But somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten what that effort cost. He'd forgotten that every opportunity he had came from someone else's sacrifice. I finished my coffee and drove home. 2 weeks passed. Evan called a few more times. I didn't answer. Mara sent me a long text message. I deleted it without reading. I knew what it would say. Accusations, justifications, demands. I didn't need to read it to know. At work, Keith promoted me officially. Not just the title, but a new desk, too. One with a window overlooking the truck yard. I could see the rigs coming and going, the drivers loading and unloading, the constant motion of freight moving across the country. "You've earned it," Keith said when he showed me the new space. "This should have happened years ago." I moved my things. It didn't take long. I didn't have much. A photo of Evan from his high school graduation, a coffee mug, some pens, the notebook with the expense list, which I'd brought home and then brought back because I wanted it close. A reminder. The new desk was quieter, fewer interruptions. People had to walk further to find me, which meant they only came when they really needed help. I liked it. One afternoon, Danny knocked on the door frame. "Hey, Callum, got a minute?" "Yeah." He came in holding a manifest. "I need help with this route. The client wants delivery by Thursday, but I can't figure out how to make the timing work." I looked at the paperwork. Chicago to Miami. Tight deadline. He'd mapped it through St. Louis and Memphis, which added 6 hours. "Go through Nashville instead," I said. "Interstate the whole way. You'll save time and fuel." He looked at the map. "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks." "No problem." He started to leave, then turned back. "Hey, Keith told me you got promoted. Congratulations." "Thanks. You deserve it. You've helped me out a lot since I started. I know I don't always say it, but I appreciate it." I nodded. "Just doing my job." "Yeah, well, thanks anyway." He left. I went back to my screen. But the words stayed with me. Small recognition, minor acknowledgement. But it was something. That night, Gregory called me. "Callum, haven't heard from you in a while." "Been busy." "Good busy or bad busy?" "Good." "Glad to hear it. Listen, I wanted to check in. That vehicle situation you asked me about. Did it resolve itself?" "It did." "Good. And you're happy with the outcome?" "I am." "Excellent. And your son? How's he handling everything?" "He's learning," Gregory chuckled. "Learning the hard way, I'm guessing." "Is there any other way?" "Not really. Some lessons stick better when they cost you something." He paused. "For what it's worth, you did the right thing. Setting boundaries isn't mean. It's necessary." "Thanks, Gregory." "Anytime. And Callum, if you need anything else, you know where to find me. Legal advice, personal advice, or just someone to talk to." "I appreciate it. Take care of yourself." "I will." I hung up and went to the garage. The folder sat on the workbench where I'd left it. I opened it and looked at the documents inside. Registration, insurance, title, maintenance log, purchase receipt, everything in order. I closed the folder and labeled a new one, resolution. Inside, I placed a single document, a letter I'd written but never sent. It was addressed to Evan, 3 pages explaining everything, why I'd kept the car in my name, why I'd tracked expenses, why I'd made the decision I did at the dealership. I read it once, then I folded it carefully and placed it in the folder. I didn't know if I'd ever give it to him. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, but it existed. That was enough. The following Saturday, I was washing the Corolla in the parking lot. Bucket of soapy water, sponge, hose, simple work, meditative, the kind of task that lets your mind wander while your hands stay busy. I was rinsing the hood when I heard footsteps behind me. "Dad." I turned. Evan stood there, hands in his pockets. He looked tired, thinner than I remembered, dark circles under his eyes. "Evan, can I talk to you?" "You're talking." "I mean really talk. Please." I turned off the hose. "All right." He glanced at the Corolla. "You're taking care of it. Always have been." "I know. I see that now." He took a breath. I came to apologize. Again. But for real this time. Not over the phone. Not through a text. Face to face. I didn't respond. I waited. "I was wrong," he continued. "About everything. About the car. About how I treated you. About letting Mara say those things. I was so focused on what I wanted that I didn't stop to think about what you'd already given me." "Okay. And I know saying sorry doesn't fix it. I know that. But I need you to know that I get it now. I understand what you were trying to show me." "What was I trying to show you?" "That respect goes both ways. That just because you're my dad doesn't mean I get to take advantage of you. that everything you've done for me came at a cost, and I never acknowledged that cost. I picked up the sponge and started washing the roof. What happened with Mara? He flinched. We're not together anymore. I stopped, looked at him. What? She left, after the dealership thing. She said she couldn't be with someone whose father would humiliate her like that. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. She made it all about her, like you did it to hurt her specifically. When I tried to explain that maybe we were wrong, that maybe we should have checked the registration like you said, she told me I was taking your side over hers. And you told her? I told her I was taking the side of common sense, and she left. He shrugged. Moved out 2 days later. Took her stuff and went to stay with her sister. I'm sorry? Don't be. You were right. About her, about all of it. I just couldn't see it because I was... He trailed off. In love? I thought I was, but I think I was just scared of being alone. Scared of admitting I'd made a mistake. He looked at the Corolla again. I should have listened to you. Should have asked questions. Should have appreciated what I had instead of always looking for something better. I rinsed the roof. The soapy water ran down the sides, creating temporary rivers across the silver paint. What are you going to do now? I asked. I don't know. Figure things out, I guess. Get a job, save money, finish school, stop depending on other people to solve my problems. That's a start. Yeah. He watched me work for a moment. Dad, I know I don't deserve to ask this, but can I help? I looked at him. Really looked at him. His tired eyes. His hunched shoulders. The way he stood there, uncertain and small. I handed him the sponge. Get the wheels, I said. We washed the car in silence. Evan scrubbed the wheels while I worked on the windows. The sun climbed higher, the parking lot filled with Saturday sounds, kids playing, doors slamming, music from someone's radio. When we finished, the Corolla gleamed, silver paint spotless, chrome shining, windows clear. Evan stood back and looked at it. It's a good car. Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't see that before. I know. He turned to me. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why did you keep it in your name? When you gave it to me, I mean. Why not just transfer everything over? I dried my hands on a towel. Insurance was cheaper with my record, registration was simpler with my address, and I wanted to make sure it was taken care of properly. You didn't trust me? I trusted you to drive it. I didn't trust you to understand its value. He nodded slowly. That's fair. We stood there for a moment. The water on the pavement was already starting to evaporate in the heat. I got a job, he said. Nothing fancy. Stocking shelves at a warehouse. Night shift, pays $10 an hour. That's good? Yeah, it's not much, but it's something. I'm going to save up. Figure out my own car situation. Public transit until then. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. I need to prove I can take care of myself. That I don't need to rely on you for everything. I looked at him. You're my son. You're supposed to rely on me sometimes. But not for everything. Not without appreciation. Not without respect. He met my eyes. That's what you were trying to teach me, right? Yeah. Then I need to learn it. Really learn it. Not just say I understand, but actually change. I picked up the bucket and poured out the dirty water. It ran across the parking lot, following the slope toward the drain. Come inside, I said. I'll make coffee. We went up to my apartment. I put on a pot while Evan sat at the kitchen table. The same table where I'd given him the keys months ago. The same table where Mara had made her comment. I poured 2 cups and sat down across from him. How's school? I asked. Hard, but I'm managing. Finals are in 3 weeks. If I pass everything, I'll be on track to graduate next year. You'll pass. I hope so. I've been studying more, going to office hours, actually reading the assignments instead of skimming. That helps. He took a sip of coffee. This is terrible. Yeah, I make it strong. Truck driver coffee. Old habits. He smiled. A real smile this time. Small, but genuine. Dad, can I ask you something else? Sure. That notebook. The one with all the expenses. Do you really keep track of everything you spend on me? Not everything, just the big things. Why? I thought about it. Because I wanted to remember what it took, not for you, for me. So when things got hard, I could look back and see what I'd accomplished. And now, after everything that happened, now I know it was worth it. Even though I messed up, especially because you messed up, because you're here now, trying to fix it. That's what matters. He looked down at his coffee. I don't know if I can fix it. You can't fix the past, but you can change the future. That sounds like something from a motivational poster. Doesn't make it less true. He laughed, actually laughed. Fair enough. We sat there drinking terrible coffee and talking about small things. His classes, my job, the weather, normal conversation, father and son, no tension, no anger. Just two people sharing space and time. Eventually he stood up. I should go. I've got a shift tonight. All right. He paused at the door. Thanks, Dad. For the coffee. For letting me help with the car. For everything. You're welcome. Can I come by again? Maybe next weekend? Yeah, I'd like that. He nodded and left. I sat at the table for a while after he was gone. The apartment was quiet again, but it felt different, less empty, more like the quiet was peaceful instead of lonely. I washed the coffee cups and went to the garage. I opened the folder labeled Resolution and looked at the letter I'd written. 3 pages of explanation, 3 pages of hurt and anger and disappointment. I took it out of the folder and tore it in half, then in half again. I kept tearing until it was just small pieces of paper, unreadable and meaningless. I threw the pieces away. Then I created a new document, just 1 page, short and simple. To Evan, it said at the top. I forgive you. Let's move forward. I signed it, dated it, placed it in the folder. Maybe I'd give it to him, maybe I wouldn't, but it existed, and that was enough. At work on Monday, Keith stopped by my desk. Torven, good weekend? Yeah, good. Listen, I've got a project I want you to lead. Major client, complex logistics, multiple stops across 6 states. I need someone I can trust to handle it. Okay. You up for it? Yeah. Great. I'll send you the details. He started to walk away, then turned back. Hey, you seem different lately, in a good way. Everything all right at home? Getting there. Good. Keep it up. He left. I opened the project file he'd sent. Complex, yes, but manageable. I started mapping routes, calculating times, organizing schedules. This is what I was good at, taking complicated situations and finding the path through them. I thought about Evan, about the path we were finding, slow, uncertain, but moving in the right direction. That was enough. 3 months later, Evan called me on a Tuesday evening. Dad, are you busy Saturday? Not particularly. Why? I wanted to show you something. Can you meet me at the community college parking lot around noon? Sure. What's this about? You'll see. Saturday came. I drove to the community college and parked in the visitor section. The lot was mostly empty, end of semester. Most students were gone. Evan's car pulled up 5 minutes later. Not the Corolla. A different car. Older. A 2015 Honda Civic. Faded blue paint. Small dent in the rear bumper, but clean. Well maintained. He got out and walked over to me with a smile. What do you think? I looked at the Civic. You bought a car? Yeah. Saved up from my warehouse job. Took me 3 months, but I did it. Paid cash. Registered in my name. Insurance in my name. Everything. How much? $6,000. It's not much, but it runs well. I had a mechanic check it out before I bought it. Clean inspection. I walked around the car. The tires were good. The windshield was clear. No warning lights on the dashboard. You did good. Thanks. I wanted to show you. Wanted you to know I was serious about taking care of myself. I can see that. He leaned against the car. I've been thinking about what you said. About respect being earned. About understanding value. And I realized I never really understood what you were trying to teach me until I had to work for something myself. And now? Now I get it. The Corolla wasn't cheap. It was earned. Every dollar you spent on it represented hours of your life. Time away from home, time on the road, time you gave up so I could have opportunities you never had. I nodded. I'm sorry I didn't see that before, he continued. I'm sorry I let Mara disrespect it. I'm sorry I disrespected you. I know. I'm not asking for the Corolla back. I don't expect that. I just wanted you to know I understand now, and I wanted you to see that I'm trying to be better. I looked at him, at the man he was becoming. Tired from work, humbled by experience, but standing taller somehow. I'm proud of you, I said. His eyes widened. Really? Yeah. He smiled, the kind of smile I hadn't seen since he was a kid, genuine, unguarded. Thanks, Dad. That means everything. We stood there in the parking lot, father and son, 2 men who understood each other better than they had in years. You want to get lunch? He asked. Yeah. My treat. You don't have to. I want to. We got in our separate cars and drove to a diner nearby. We sat in a booth and ordered burgers and fries and talked about everything. His job, my promotion, his classes, the future. When the check came, he paid. No argument, no hesitation. Walking out to the parking lot afterward, he stopped beside my truck. "Dad, I have one more thing to tell you." "What's that?" "I'm graduating in May, and I want you there. Front row. I want you to see what you made possible." "I'll be there. Promise. Promise." He hugged me. Tight. The kind of hug that says everything words can't. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes. "I love you, Dad. I love you too." We got in our vehicles and drove away in different directions. I watched him in my rearview mirror until he disappeared into traffic. That night, I sat in the garage one last time. The folders were still there. All the documentation, all the records, all the evidence of what had happened. I closed them all and placed them in a box. I labeled it simply, "Lessons Learned." Then I carried it to the back of the garage and put it on a high shelf. I didn't need it anymore. The Corolla sat in spot 17, right where it belonged. Silver paint gleaming under the streetlight. Reliable, solid, mine. I locked the garage and went inside. Tomorrow I'd go to work. Next week I'd see Evan again. In May I'd watch him graduate. Life moved forward.